The theater was glowing under a sea of white and gold lights, buzzing with that familiar electricity only America's Got Talent could create. Cameras floated silently across the room, capturing every smile, every nervous breath, every subtle reaction from the judge's table. The audience clapped politely as the next act was announced, unaware that they were about to witness something that would stay with them long after the night ended. From the shadows of the stage, a single figure stepped forward. No dramatic entrance, no explosions of sound, just calm, steady footsteps echoing across the polished floor. The illusionist stood still for a moment, letting the silence settle. In a room built for noise and spectacle, that quiet felt unusual, almost uncomfortable. Simon Cowell glanced up with mild curiosity, his expression calm, experienced, unreadable. He had seen thousands of acts cross this stage, magic, illusions, big promises followed by predictable endings. To him, this felt like another performance, waiting to be judged, measured, and moved aside if it failed to surprise. Heidi Klum leaned forward slightly, her smile warm but cautious. Howie Mandel tilted his head, already searching for the method behind whatever might come next. Sofia Vergara scanned the stage, her eyes bright but unconvinced. None of them looked impressed yet. None of them looked worried. The illusionist finally spoke, voice quiet but confident, carrying effortlessly through the theater. No fast talking, no dramatic build-up, just a few simple words that sounded more like a conversation than a performance. It felt disarming, almost too ordinary. Somewhere in the crowd, a few people shifted in their seats. Others folded their arms. They'd seen illusions before, cards, mirrors, hidden panels. They expected to spot the trick early, to whisper guesses to the person beside them, to feel clever when the mystery was revealed. The stage itself looked bare, no boxes, no assistants, no obvious tools of deception. Just a clean floor, clear lighting, and open space. That alone made some people uneasy. When there's nothing to hide behind, where does the magic come from? The illusionist took a slow breath, eyes scanning the audience, not with arrogance, but with focus. It was the look of someone measuring timing, reading energy, waiting for the exact moment to begin. Every second of silence stretched longer than the last. A faint hum of anticipation rippled through the theater, the kind that creeps in when people realize something important is about to happen, even if they can't explain why. The applause faded completely now. All that remained was stillness. Simon adjusted in his chair, not impressed, but alert. This wasn't how most illusion acts started. There was no rush, no attempt to grab attention. Instead, the act was letting attention come to it naturally, pulling the room inward rather than pushing outward. The illusionists lifted their hands slowly, palms open, showing there was nothing hidden. The gesture was simple, almost casual, yet it commanded the room. Cameras zoomed in. The judges leaned forward without realizing it. The audience collectively held its breath. It felt like the moment just before a storm breaks, quiet, heavy, charged. No one knew what was coming, but everyone sensed that once it began, there would be no turning back. This was not the start of a trick. It was the start of doubt, doubt in what the eyes see, in what the mind trusts, and in how solid reality truly is. The first movement was so small that many people almost missed it. A slight turn of the wrist, a gentle shift of the fingers, nothing dramatic enough to trigger gasps or applause. And yet, something about it felt wrong, like watching a reflection move before the person does. The illusionist stepped forward, closing the distance between the stage and the judge's table just enough to remove the comfort of space. Whatever was about to happen would not be hidden by shadows or distance. It would happen right there, under unforgiving lights, in front of eyes trained to catch deception. An object appeared in the illusionist's hands, plain, ordinary, almost boring. The kind of thing no one would ever expect to be the center of a miracle. The audience relaxed slightly, thinking they understood where this was going. Then it changed, not suddenly, not with a flash. It changed slowly, deliberately, as if reality itself was being rewritten frame by frame. The object bent where it shouldn't bend. Its shape shifted without breaking. People blinked, convinced their eyes were playing tricks on them. The cameras zoomed closer. Even on the massive screens above the stage, the illusion held. No cuts, no shadows, no place for the truth to hide. A murmur spread through the crowd, low and uncertain. The kind of sound people make when they don't know whether they're witnessing brilliance or a mistake in the universe. Some laughed nervously. Others leaned forward, mouths slightly open, afraid that if they looked away for even a second, they'd miss the explanation. The illusionist didn't rush. Each movement was slow, controlled, almost respectful, as if handling something fragile and dangerous at the same time. Hands remained visible, sleeves rolled up. The rules of fairness were being followed, yet the outcome made no sense. Simon's expression changed first. The skepticism softened into confusion. His eyes narrowed, not to dismiss, but to analyze. This wasn't just a trick anymore. It was a problem his experience couldn't immediately solve. Another motion, another impossibility. The object vanished, cleanly, completely, without distraction. No smoke, no cover. One moment it was there, undeniable. The next it simply wasn't. Gasps rippled through the audience like a sudden wave. Before the shock could settle, it reappeared somewhere no one expected. Not from a pocket, not from a sleeve. Somewhere that felt unfair. The timing was perfect, striking before the mind could recover from the last impossibility. Howie's hands flew to his head. Sophia stood halfway out of her chair. Heidi laughed in disbelief, shaking her head as if refusing to accept what she'd just seen. Their reactions weren't rehearsed. They were raw, instinctive, human. The illusionist continued, layering impossibility on top of impossibility. Cause and effect collapsed. Time seemed to stutter. What should have taken seconds happened instantly. What should have been instant stretched into a slow, agonizing reveal. The audience was no longer reacting individually. They were moving as one, gasping together, freezing together, erupting together. Phones were forgotten. Recording stopped. People needed both hands just to process what was happening. The illusionist paused again, letting the tension choke the room. Eyes met the judges. A silent challenge hung in the air. Explain this. No one could. The final moment came without warning. A last transformation so clean, so impossible, that even the applause was delayed. The crowd needed a heartbeat to accept that it was over, that whatever had just shattered their understanding of reality was not going to be undone. And in that brief silence, the truth became clear. This wasn't just illusion, it was control, over attention, over expectation, over belief itself. For a split second after it ended, the theater forgot how to breathe. The illusionist stood perfectly still, hands relaxed at their sides, as if nothing extraordinary had just occurred. The final image lingered in the air like a question no one knew how to answer. Then the sound hit. Applause exploded from every corner of the theater, loud and sudden, crashing together into a wave that rolled toward the stage. People leapt to their feet without thinking. Some shouted. Others laughed in disbelief, clapping harder as if volume alone might make sense of what they had just seen. At the judges' table, the reactions were even more telling. Simon Cowell stared at the stage, lips slightly parted, his usual composure nowhere to be found. He wasn't clapping yet. He was still processing, replaying every moment in his mind, searching for the crack where the truth might be hiding. When he finally exhaled, it sounded like someone letting go of a long-held argument. Howie Mandel shook his head repeatedly, a wide grin stretching across his face. No, 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 he muttered, half laughing, half defeated. He slapped the desk, then covered his face, overwhelmed by the sheer audacity of what he'd just witnessed. Heidi Klum stood fully now, one hand over her mouth, the other clapping instinctively. Her eyes followed the illusionist, as if expecting the impossible to happen again at any second. She laughed, but there was something else in it, astonishment mixed with genuine admiration. Sofia Vergara leaned forward, pointing toward the stage, speaking rapidly in disbelief. Her words tumbled over each other, a mix of amazement and confusion. She laughed, then shook her head, as if refusing to accept that what she'd seen was real. When the applause finally softened enough for sound to return, Simon leaned into his microphone. He paused. That pause said everything. "I don't know what just happened," he admitted, his voice slower than usual. The crowd erupted again, sensing the weight of the moment. "And I hate that. Because I like knowing what's going on." Laughter filled the room, but Simon wasn't joking. His eyes stayed locked on the illusionist. That was one of the most unsettling performances I've seen on this stage, in the best possible way. Howie jumped in immediately, barely able to sit still. "I've watched magic my entire life," he said. And that, whatever that was, didn't feel like magic. It felt like you broke the rules. More applause, louder this time. Heidi nodded enthusiastically. It was elegant, she added. There was no chaos, no noise, just confidence. You made us lean in, and then you took advantage of that trust. Sophia smiled wide, hands still in motion. I don't understand it, she said, laughing. But I don't want to. I just want to see it again. The illusionist finally allowed a small smile to appear, not triumphant, but grateful. A slight bow acknowledged the judges, the audience, the moment itself. The voting was almost an afterthought. Green lights appeared one by one, glowing brightly against the dark theater. The crowd cheered as if the outcome had never been in doubt. As the illusionist walked off stage, the audience continued to buzz, replaying the performance out loud, arguing theories, failing to agree on any explanation. Even backstage, crew members exchanged looks of disbelief. That night, something rare happened on America's Got Talent. The judges weren't just entertained, they were shaken. And long after the lights dimmed and the theater emptied, one question remained. If what they saw couldn't be explained, what else had they been wrong about all along?